Greetings, this is Charles Darwin from along the banks of beautiful Joe Creek in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In the winter, it's a very cold winter day. Okay, so Joe Creek is actually just a drainage ditch, and it's actually being filled in through successional processes with sand and with willows and with lots of wildflowers, even a few sycamores. Actually, this seems like it would be the last place in the world that you would expect to be able to study evolution. After all, Oklahoma is well known for its anti-evolutionary stances. Every year, predictably, there are anti-evolution laws proposed to committees in the Senate and the House. So far, we've been able to prevent the passage through our work with Oklahomans for Excellence in Science Education of such laws. But you know, there are places you can go here in Oklahoma, just almost any place you might care to look. You can find evidence of evolution. Here we see some fossils. There are crinoids, those are the round things that look like lifesavers, and there are mollusks. You can see some of them in outline right here, some of them from side view. This is just a random piece of limestone that has been hauled in by a truck to block vehicles from driving along a dirt road along the creek. And you can find similar things in this rock over here. Now, how can that be considered evidence of evolution? Because after all, creationists believe in fossils also. They believe that fossils in rocks such as this were deposited by a flood. But here is the evidence for evolution and evidence against a flood in these fossils. There are crinoid and mollusk fossils here. There are no other kinds of fossils. You don't find this to be a random mixture of fossils from different habitats, ecological zones, or from different periods of time. These are all Cretaceous fossils of shallow seas. Now, if these rocks were deposited by a flood, you would expect to find, at least somewhere, some fossils that were out of place. Maybe you would find a bird fossil in here, or maybe you would find a mammal fossil in here. But as a matter of fact, you find overwhelmingly just the fossils of marine organisms, marine invertebrates that live at shallow depths. J.B.S. Haldane, a British scientist, was famous for having issued a challenge to the creationists of his day. And his challenge was, find me a Precambrian bunny. And if you can find a fossil that's out of place, even just one fossil that was out of place to such an extent, then that would at least cause him to rethink his dedication to evolutionary science. So even when you just find a random rock, even if it's no longer in its original location in Oklahoma, it is evidence for evolution. But people with their creationist delusions walk right past all of that evidence. It looks like this rock doesn't have fossils in it. But they walk right past this evidence without being aware of its significance. Yet all they would have to do is open their eyes, look, and think about what they're seeing, and they would be able to see all around them the evidence of evolution. This is especially true when you consider Oral Roberts University. Here are the Oral Roberts towers that were built in response to Oral Roberts claiming that if somebody would give him the money to build the towers, that God would reveal the cure to cancer to him. That didn't happen. And so Tulsa basks in the shadow of Oral Roberts cancer towers. And yet, even though the evidence is against God having spoken to Oral Roberts and blessed him with unique knowledge, still, all around us here in Tulsa, there is the evidence of evolution if we would just stop and look. This is Charles Darwin, tally ho, and amen.